to me it's so fascinating about Ramadan because it's very much a discipline like yoga. It's overcoming your own weaknesses, and it forms a form of discipline which creates fortitude, sort of overcoming body, mind and spirit. It's like exercising our whole body through the discipline.
Sure.
And Ramadan sort of represents that on some sort of profound level. When you look at other religions like Christianity and Judaism, Judaism has Yom Kippur, and so does Christianity has Lent. It's about abstinence, and it's all about focusing within rather than being attached to the outer world.
Even in the Quran, I think it says fasting has been written down as obligatory for you, as it was upon those before you, referring directly to the Jewish peoples and Yom Kippur. These kind of disciplines were there. They were about within Christianity, within Judaism, within the Abrahamic faith, within Hinduism. I think it's the bit which human beings rebel against, because it's not nice being tied down by rules and regulations, and it's not necessarily nice to have discipline. You have to balance the aesthetic side of whatever it is you're doing with the technical and the disciplinarian side.
Yeah.
And I think unless you have sometimes the disciplinarian side, you can't get the best result. With Ramadan, if you get the outer discipline right, it does have immediate impact. The outer is all about denial, testing yourself, your willpower, your abilities to say no. And then the denial aspect shows that you are an individual with a willpower and you aren't just a loose cannon.
Yeah.
Secondly, the actual iftar, or the actual opening of the fast,
or breaking of the fast.
breaking of the fast, is a point of gathering. Once you know that you can say that and you can resist, it starts opening up all sorts of areas of confidence and parts of your personality that you didn't quite realise. Just if you do something without working hard for it, I think, or you're given something as a gift without you having to have
earned it. It's sweating. It's like it's the toils of the self. That's when you get the reward. It's almost like what Buddhism says. It's like when it's achieving enlightenment.
Absolutely.
And probably self-enlightenment.
Sure.
I'm so fascinated in terms of that we have to abstain for a whole month, but this abstinence is more detoxifying and cleaning out the system really, and the liver takes about 4 to 6 weeks to detoxify. So maybe this whole thing about fasting it actually enhances our longevity. It actually makes us live longer.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, doing it for 30 days non-stop, it basically jolts your whole system, cultural, social, physical, mental system. Yeah. The food and passing food through the mouth is actually a physically kind of disturbing thing for the body, especially I think in the first 6 or 7 days of Ramadan.
It's very, very difficult. Yeah. I find it really hard to even stick to any form of regime.
It completely knocks your whole system out.
And also because one's not used to it for days on end, really. But you've had 9 months where you're just eating, you have regular food, etc., and you stick to some sort of routine. And then suddenly, when Ramadan comes, the first week becomes the toughest week, but then it becomes easy because I think the body kicks in.
Yeah. It's interesting. Ramadan's origin, the word Ramadan itself, I think denotes denial, rough, tough connotation. That's the Arabic connotation of the word. It actually has a whole intensity, heat, shortness of rations, all these things within that. And it's the 9th month of the lunar calendar.
Exactly, that's right, yes.
And all of it within a harsh environment of sort of pre-Islamic Arabia, or Arabia per se, would have been one of the most kind of harshest places to have to impose such a discipline.
Exactly, especially when you're in the desert, because it's so hot. How the hell did they do it? And at the same time, to start off in the morning, you eat. You have your just before dawn. You eat, and so that has to sustain you for the rest of the day. And then you break your fast with dates, which I know, which is very symbolic. Because dates is rich in potassium and it's got sodium and it's almost like taking a multivitamin. That's how I look at it. It's got B complexes and vitamin A, and obviously it's rich in fiber, and that also helps with the digestion. It's almost like it helps with the process of digestion. But yet at the same time, I find that more people put on weight during Ramadan rather than actually sort of being healthier. It loses its purpose, because I know that, at the middle of the night, people are still eating till the morning call to prayer. So you think, well, the whole purpose is somehow sort of lost somehow.
This failure to recognise the discipline of controlling food is quite symbolic of the way generally spirituality and religion, human beings
self-denial.
They kind of miss the point. Even in the wider sense of spirituality, it's not recognizing that quite often it's the intention that counts. Because of course there's the denial of the eye, which is not to look or try and sort of do anything kind of which is in a way licentious visually. Or there's also the idea of the ear, and not trying to sort of listen to people who are maybe backbiting about others and encouraging that process. Actually, that's why there's been an overemphasis from the religious fraternity to say the food side, the denial of food. Because if you think about fasting or Ramadan, the first thing everybody thinks about is the fasting. These other things that we're talking about, not swearing, not lying, not cheating, being honest, thinking as cleanly as possible.
In a very positive way.
Yeah, I mean, these kind of things are almost secondary. Even within the Muslim communities that I know, by and large, it's not like you're not going to get caught out for that. But if you see somebody grabbing a little pie and putting it in their sort of mouths halfway through the day, cheating or something, it's actually a heinous crime. I mean, in places like the Emirates, you get fined for it.
Absolutely.
In places like, I don't know, there are various countries in the Muslim world where you'll actually get much sterner punishments. Algeria, for instance, they will actually lock you up for maybe about 200 days or something.
It's not the religion. The religion facilitates it, but it's not the religion. It's actually our own personal journey, and it's our own spiritual path. It's also, it's we're testing ourselves.
Ramadan, I think it needs to be utilised in so many more ways than just the self-denial. Because yes, generosity, yes, hospitality, yes, celebration. These things go hand in hand. And food is always at the centre of these three things. And it's just thinking laterally about something which is an age-old ritual, and not just letting it remain a ritual, but actually to make it kind of come to life within the context of the society you're in. Ramadan, in a way, is practiced quite subtly differently in Indonesia and sort of the Far East. And if you move through the Middle East and into sort of Western Europe, you can see the subtle changes and differences in the way that Ramadan is kind of practiced. I mean, both in terms of the outer discipline, but also in terms of culturally the way people view it. By and large, it's been used within Islamic countries. And that's where it's predominant. But increasingly with the Islamic or the Muslim diaspora spreading out across the West and in areas where Islam isn't a dominating religion, I think the Ramadan period is something which can be utilised much more effectively as, firstly, a point of dialogue. Secondly, a point of winning respect and winning the trust. Anybody who's a non-Muslim who will come to you and say, "Oh, you're fasting," first thing is it induces respect.
It does, of course.
I've never met a single person who's not of the Islamic faith who hasn't turned around and respected
another person fasting. Yes, I agree. I know.
And it leads to the second question, a questioning of like, okay, right, you got that willpower to do that. Then the next stage is almost like, well, how can we connect to this? I feel slightly outside of this. Food can be a mechanism for bringing people down to earth.
Also, what I find that our lifestyles have changed, especially in the West, where people are working continuously. People don't sit down at a table anymore and eat together like a family.
With Ramadan, you have sahur,
which
is the
sunrise. Yes,
that's when you've got to finish your food. You can't go any further than that.
Absolutely.
So there's an opportunity for communal gathering.
Absolutely, and also at iftar, and when you break fast.
Again, we're back together.
Exactly. But that seems to work better because we live in isolation. We're not always next to our neighbours who are Muslims, because in India or in any of the Middle Eastern countries, if there's a neighbour who is a Muslim or whatever, they will exchange food, and it sort of brings communities together.
Food could be a great way of bringing people together. And Ramadan, again, the iftar for me, we've been working quite hard at trying to start utilising this concept, and even getting restaurants involved and getting kind of like supermarket chains to buy into the idea that you can utilise food as a way of bringing people together, connecting communities. And food is one of those things which everybody has an opinion on. The idea of ceremonial, sacred food is something, again, common through pagan, all kind of monotheistic cultures. I think it, again, I try and connect it to the contemporary period, and you know, around us, what do we see? We see J. Sainsbury's, we see kind of Tesco's, we see supermarkets, we see a young generation which probably could go from the age of 3 years old to the age of 20 and never see a chicken, never see an animal. Like, let alone see what a spice is in its original form. You know, and it's that disconnection with nature, that lack of appreciation of what something is in its absolute basic form. I think that also is pretty rife within certainly Western society, and increasingly within Eastern society. There's a disconnection.
Which part of Pakistan are you from?
I'm from Islamabad.
So what special dishes do you eat?
Special dishes, we have like biryani. And pulao.
We make tandoori chicken, chicken plow, and of course the sweet. We'll always have a couple of legs of lamb that my aunt would have marinated in yogurt and spices the night before. And that's cooked in the oven. And then we'll have a curry, kebab curry. And then we'll either have like tandoori chicken, or we'll have a chicken curry and rice and bread, salad.
We cook traditional food like semias, there's vermicelli in milk and sugar and a little bit of butter.
Do you do any special dishes during Ramadan?
Mostly we would have a few fried items, but we try not to. Chickpeas because it helps the digestion. And just bits of savoury bits and pieces. Nothing in particular. We'll have there's a thing called shurba, which is like porridge. Yeah, soup. But it's made from barley. And then we will have things like samosas.
I actually had like a family over, like we had a prayer meeting, and like 15 ladies, 20 ladies came over, and everyone said I cooked so many things. A fruit cocktail, it's called a fruit chaat.
Yes.
Fruit chaat, chana chaat, and samosas, pakoras. This is the traditional thing, and like, you know, spring rolls and all these sort of things that what we have.
And with carrot, diced carrot, and diced baby radish, and mint, and vinaigrette too. I must say, stress on one thing. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, used to use vinegar and olive oil to dress his vegetables. And the vinaigrette is from those times, from the Islamic times, and passed down to Italians and French, and they will use that. They used to also love milk, honey, dates, pomegranates, which are all used, and plums as well, all used for Ayurvedic and ailments.
And how do you, and what do you break your fast with? Do you normally break it with dates?
And half a cup of
And why the milk?
it's what our Prophet did, so we try and follow as much of the old traditions as possible. When people have their dates, they'll drink a bit of water and then they'll go and pray. There's a drink that we make in Ramadan, which is actually a hot drink. It's made of milk. It's got white poppy seeds.
Oh, this is unusual.
White poppy seeds, pistachio nuts, coconuts, raisins, and it will always be spiced with cardamom and nutmeg. And it's kind of boiled for a good hour or so. It's quite thick and it's really nutritious. So when you break your fast, not only is it warm when you drink it, it's full of really good things.
The proteins and oils, natural oils and proteins.